What is up? On today's show, I'm going to be joined by Phoenix native Van Cummerford to discuss the Suns' offseason moves and the Cardinals' playoff chances. At the end of the episode, I'm doing Nic's picks. Did all right last week, just about broke even, a little bit under, but we'll go over that when we talk about next week's picks. But first, a quick NBA draft and early free agency react. Next week, I'm going to do a big free agency reaction pod with Tom Z of Lakers Exceptionalism. But I'm going to talk about the draft here and one free agency comparison specifically that I want to talk about. But with the draft, the Kings had a fantastic draft. Tyrese Halliburton fell to them at the 12th pick. They traded the 35th pick for Robert Woodard II, who was the 40th pick of the draft, and a 2022 second rounder from the Grizzlies, which I thought was a really savvy move. I think he's really underrated in this draft. Jamias Ramsey was the 43rd pick they grabbed, and Kenyon Martin Jr. at 52, which is really cool. I liked watching his dad play. I think that they picked four really versatile players that can switch defensively and also not be a liability offensively. Plus, we got two forearm sweatband guys, so you gotta love that. The Sixers had a good draft as well. They got off the Al Horford deal. They added a bunch of shooting. I mean, Daryl is already making moves. He's making something out of nothing, per usual, but I like what they did. I talked about Killian Hayes with Tom last week, and I really liked him in the draft, but this is really a worst case scenario for him. He was drafted 7th by the Pistons, and I really don't love that situation for him. I didn't love that situation for him on draft night, and since then it's just gotten worse with all of their big man signings. It's really unclear what the Pistons are doing or what direction they're trying to go in. But I feel bad for the guy because I really liked him going into the draft, and I think that that's a really tough spot to be in, but we will see what happens. And I think that he's a professional. You know, he came from the leagues in Europe, not from a college system. So I assume he knows how to handle his business, and hopefully he'll just focus on getting better as a player. And when he can get out of there, he will. The last thing I want to talk about from the draft is before the draft and leading up to, and I mean, even the years leading up to this draft, LaMelo has been so polarizing. And for the longest time, I've been out on him. But for some reason, during the draft or right before, I just had this switch flip where I was like, I'm in on LaMelo. I think he's going to be good. And I may regret this in the future, but I'm just calling it now. I'm in on LaMelo. He's going to be an all-star in 5 years. He's going to bring the Hornets back to prosperity if they were ever in prosperity. I'm not sure. He'll make the Hornets good. We'll just say that. And then, okay, so the free agency reaction that I had here, the two moves specifically I wanted to focus on was Trey Burke and Jordan Clarkson and kind of comparing the two. So Trey Burke signed for 3 years, $10 million versus Jordan Clarkson signed for 4 years, $52 million. They're both 27. Burke averaged 12 points and 3.8 assists, shooting 43% behind the arc with his short stint with the Mavs there last season. Clarkson averaged 15.6 points and 1.6 assists last season and shot 37% behind the arc. So Clarkson shot 4 more times a game, a worse percentage, and only scored 3.5 more points while also accumulating 2 fewer assists. And yet the Jazz are paying him $13 million a year, as opposed to the Mavericks, who are paying Burke $3.3 million a year. I just think you're getting so much more value with that Burke deal. I know that Clarkson's a good player, a spark plug. He's never seen a shot that he doesn't like. But when you're trying to build a champion, and like the Mavericks, for example, they have Luka on his rookie deal still, they could have easily just spent a bunch of money and tried to get the 6th seed and blown their cap for the next few years, but instead they're making smart, savvy moves, bringing in people who are going to be efficient and productive for the particular number that they're getting paid, And the Jazz, on the other hand, probably are going nowhere signing deals like a 4-year, $52 million deal for Jordan Clarkson. It's just not good value, and you're not going to win championships if you're not getting good value on your contracts outside of your max contracts, because those take up so much of your cap. You have to work really efficiently around the edges. That's what's made Morey successful for years. And that's clearly what they're doing in Dallas and not so much what they're doing in Utah. Again, we're going to talk more free agency, signings, trades, player transactions next week with Tom Z, but I just wanted to touch on that move specifically. But up next, I got Van Cummerford coming on, but first, a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by CBD Brands Direct. CBD Brands Direct is an online retailer for a wide variety of CBD brands and products. They are your one-stop shop for everything CBD. From topicals to edibles to ingestibles, they've got you covered. Caliper CBD makes dissolvable powder that provides a precise 20 milligram dose of CBD in each packet. The powder is flavorless, sugar-free, THC-free, and it dissolves into any food or beverage. Caliper CBD has a 450% higher bioavailability than standard CBD oils. That means you absorb 4.5 times more CBD into your body and get the full powered results you deserve. It contains no calories and is made with non-GMO ingredients and is vegan and gluten-free. All products from CBD Brands Direct ship to the continental United States. You must be 18 or older to order, and be sure to check your specific state's CBD regulations. Visit cbdbrandsdirect.com. That's cbdbrandsdirect.com to order, and use the offer code Begonia FM, all one word, at checkout to get 20% off your order. Be sure to use that code to let them know you came from us. Thanks to CBD Brands Direct for sponsoring this episode and all of Begonia FM. Okay, joining me now on the line, he's a musician, an actor, and a tunnel enthusiast, Van Cummerford. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Glad to be here. Thanks so much.
Yeah, great. I wanted to bring you on this week to talk Arizona sports. Lots going on there in Phoenix. We got to start with the Chris Paul trade, and so we'll start with some Suns talk here. The Suns receive Chris Paul and Abdel Nader, and they traded away Kelly Oubre Jr., Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, and the Suns' 2022 first-round pick. Mm-hmm. That's a lot to give up for Chris Paul, but what do you expect from him this upcoming season?
I think it's tough. I think he could bring, some leadership to the team for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't know though. My perspective on all of this is I'm coming at this from, look, I'm a Phoenix fan. I've been a Phoenix fan my whole life, grew up there. And I follow this stuff, but it's like, I really could, from this trade, really, like, the biggest losses to me are like Ricky Rubio and Kelly Oubre. Mm-hmm. I think that is probably something that I like focus more on because I know them being on the team and what they brought to the team rather than what Chris Paul could potentially bring to the team. So, I think that it's, Devin Booker is still going to be in a really strong leadership role for sure. Devin Booker might, step out of a more of a point guard role and,
right. He might be playing some more off ball.
Yeah. That might be like one of the bigger changes that we see like directly, from this trade.
And he had some minutes with Rubio there last season where he was playing off ball. I liked what Rubio did for you guys. I think he opened up a lot, especially like in the full court game to where like he was pushing the ball on misses and transition.
Yeah, I think he proved himself too. Like it felt like I didn't know a whole lot about Ricky Rubio honestly when he first came to the team. I was a little skeptical, but I feel like he proved himself like just over time, and I grew to like him a lot. So sucks to see him go.
Yeah, what else do you want to see the Suns do? They didn't pick up Frank Kaminsky's option. They added Jay Crowder, 3 years, $30 million. They re-signed Javon Carter. He's been really good for you guys. 3 years, $11.5 million. I like that. You guys lost Bainsey yesterday, so that was a tough
that's a
loss
big
to the
one.
Raps.
He was another one that I really grew to like. I just liked his presence. On the court. I thought he had a nice atmosphere around him, and just overall was a really hard worker, and seemed like he really enjoyed playing basketball out there. So
yeah, those Aussie guys play with like a certain level of just nonchalant attitude when they're on the court. Like Steve Adams, Joe Ingles, they do look like they're having a ball when they're playing basketball.
That's right. I think a lot of it is the accent, but
Yeah, just ending sentences with mate.
That's right.
You can say the meanest thing and throw a little mate at the end, and you're like, that wasn't so mean.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's all good.
And you got to think their 10th overall pick, Jalen Smith, is going to fill that Baines role, being a big guy, decent shooter. That's what I foresee for you guys. But, I mean, there's still going to be a lot of player turnover over the next few weeks here. So there's still moves to be made.
Totally. I mean, and it's weird because it's like I feel like we're constantly in this like rebuild phase.
Mm-hmm.
It's like always like we have hot flashes and then, like we just can't like capitalize on it really. And I think it's just a classic Arizona sports move to, go out and get someone like Chris Paul. And like, while I'm like excited just to like watch that unfold in front of me and like, 'cause that's cool to have, a legend like Chris Paul. I mean, like I like the Clippers too, so it's like, I liked when he was playing on them, for them. And, so it'll be cool. It'll be weird to see him in a Suns jersey. But
that's very true. I haven't even thought about that. The Suns uniform will look a little bit weird on him.
It will be strange, but I hope that he can bring, something to the team. I mean, obviously as a player, he's got the X factor. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's
the point god, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic. He's Chris Paul,
and did a good season last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if he can settle into like a strictly, I don't know, like a point guard role, something that he really excels at. There might be some recipe for success here. I mean, really, all I want as a Suns fan, all I think any Suns fan wants, honestly, is just to have a good display in the playoffs. Like, yes, like a finals performance or a finals being in the finals and potentially winning the finals would be amazing. But like, it's just with all the talent out there, it is not. I just don't think it is really possible right now or in like the near future to obtain that. But, going to the playoffs, doing well, I think that's possible.
Yeah, the West is quite a bloodbath. And I think it's been 10 years now, the Suns' drought without making the playoffs. I mean, if you look at the West, there are only a few teams where you can confidently say they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but you're realistically looking at probably 14 teams that have a legitimate chance at making the playoffs in the West. So I think they have their work cut out for them there. Where do you think they will finish in the West? Just a guess right now, if you had to put money down today, where do you have them finishing in the West?
I mean, I don't know if I could put a number on it, but I mean, I think that there will be competition for like the lowest spot in the playoffs. I think that they will finish around, somewhere where that is like the result of the season is a very potential low entry into the playoffs.
And they have the play-in tournament for this season because of the shortened season. So
That's
even
right.
if you're the 10 seed, you have a chance to play your way in.
Okay. I had forgotten exactly what those new rules were.
So there's a chance, and they had a really good showing in the bubble. On last week's episode, I even talked about that I think that potentially they could bust out of the gates quickly, and Booker would potentially be like an early MVP candidate. He might be able to grab the narrative early. And if they can keep that momentum that they had in the bubble, I think they have a really good chance. Yeah, at least making one of those lower playoff seeds.
Totally. I mean, the bubble performance was incredible. As a Suns fan, how can you not love that? I mean, it was something to see.
8-0.
Obviously, yeah, I know. Like truly unbelievable.
Could not have played any better.
I still, to this day, I don't really know how that all came together. Yeah, no, I mean, if we can, execute on that sort of momentum that we have, by all means, I think we have a shot. But obviously, we made a lot of trades, changes since then. So, it might be a totally different squad with a totally different vibe. And, who knows? We'll see. But it's exciting. I'm here for it.
I am as well. And you guys have Booker and Ayton, and I think that's all that really matters. I think the pieces can move around them, but that is your core right there. But I'm excited to see what the Suns do. But, that isn't happening quite yet. That is in the future. But currently, in Arizona sports, we got the Cards, who unfortunately dropped the game Thursday night. I was hoping when I scheduled you on this podcast, it had the potential of the Cards grabbing first place, and that was an ideal scenario. It didn't work out that way. But what did you see there on Thursday during that game?
I mean, I think it was kind of to be expected. I mean, they always say, it's tough to beat the same team twice in the same season. So, I think the odds were already stacked against us going into it. But, I mean, a one possession difference, one touchdown difference, score differential. I'm okay with that. I think, overall it was, an exciting game, and, really,
you had a chance in the fourth quarter, and that's all you can really ask for.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it was a hard fought game, and I don't look at that game and think that, the hype is not real or whatever. I think that is just business as usual. That was kind of sort of to be expected. Let's just hunker down and, finish out the season strong.
Well, speaking of finishing out the season strong, I kind of wanted to go through the remaining schedule of the Cards here with you and see what you thought. They got the Patriots, Rams, Giants, Eagles, Niners, Rams. Out of that bunch, I would say the only gimme is the Giants, and they're even playing better football currently. And you'd think that they would probably beat the Niners and Eagles. So in my opinion, it basically comes down to those two Rams games. They have that Week 13 matchup and then that Week 17 matchup. I think I have that right there. But they're playing them twice, and you again have that Niners matchup as well. What do you think is going to happen? What do you see?
I mean, I think it's perfectly possible that we win all those games. Giants, Eagles, Niners, and then split the Rams. I mean, that's probably ideal. I mean, ideal scenario is we win out, but I mean, I think.
For sure.
I think that we could definitely get a game on the Rams for sure.
Split that series. And then what do you think about the Patriots coming up here next week?
I mean, we shall see. The Pats have been really kind of hot and cold. They have, when they're hot, and when they're not, they are absolutely not.
That's a good way of putting it.
They're really bad, shockingly bad sometimes. I think we will win. I mean, that's just, I'm biased, but, I think it'll be a fun game to watch, a good quarterback battle.
So, yeah, if, say, potentially they split with the Rams, they sweep the rest of their opponents, they'll finish with 11-5. A pretty good chance for the playoffs. How many NFC West teams do you think are going to make the playoffs? Do you think the Rams are going to sneak in there as well?
I think that I'm going to say that there are going to be three. NFC West teams in the playoffs. I think that they can clinch those wild card spots. I think I don't know, just like the way that the momentum is going. Obviously, we have to play the Rams, and there are some other
Seahawks and Rams have a matchup as well.
Yeah, and they have a matchup. Yeah, so there's some possibility for records getting a little worse here, but dude, I think that they're all going to sneak in. I think it's going to be awesome. I think this is going to be one of those years they talk about where the NFC West just dominated and it was sick.
I think it should be noted that the NFC West is playing the NFC East this season, so they're all getting like 4 automatic wins there. But the NFC West is really, really good. So it's a little bit
Feels
of column
good,
A,
man.
little column B.
You love it.
You do. And you know who I love is Kyler. I have been championing him as MVP this whole season.
You absolutely have.
And he's currently at the 4th best odds now on most gambling sites. Do you think, say they win out the rest of their games and they finish 12-4, do you think he'll win MVP?
I mean, I think that you probably have a pretty good argument for it.
I think so too. At
that point, I would probably jump to your side of the aisle. I mean, I have definitely been, I've been skeptical. As an Arizona sports fan, you gotta always be skeptical of
you gotta be on your toes.
Yeah, exactly, of these hot flashes. Because it's like I've had my heart broken too many times. And it's like the boy who cried wolf.
What's the most heartbreaking Arizona sports loss?
I mean, probably the 2008 Super Bowl, right? I mean,
it's tough. Sure.
It really is. I know that was a while ago, but I remember it so vividly. And, the catch in the end zone wasn't a catch. We can go on and on about this whole time, but I'm just
poking the bear.
Yeah. I'm just saying, that if that happened in 2020, there would be multiple angles on that catch, and it may have been a different result.
Does that hurt more than the Steve Nash hip check game, where then Amari, got suspended for the next game and the Suns loss?
I mean, that was more of like a series of events, I guess.
A series of Phoenix sports events.
Yeah, the touchdown is just so stinging. It's just like so specific, and it's just God, it is the worst.
Well, on that note,
go on.
Speaking of the worst, that one more thing I gotta talk to you about here: the D-backs. What do they need to do to return to their 2000s glory?
I don't know, man. I mean, the D-backs have been just slowly dying for the last 15 years, and it is just the saddest thing to see. I mean, they had a little glimmer of hope. Like, when was that? Like 5 to 10 years ago or something like that.
With Greinke and that staff?
No, it was like, oh God, I think it was like before Greinke, and that's why it was sad that Greinke just didn't do as well as everyone was hoping. But like, I don't know, man. I mean, it's the Arizona curse of like where Greinke's another person where you just like spend a ridiculous amount of money on someone that's really good, but potentially overhyped, or I mean, baseball is a finicky sport. You're not going to like dominate all the time. Like, there's so much chance. But, and it's like, then he just didn't really work out. And now we're sitting here, we could have like invested in some, young up and comers and like built up a franchise. But, I mean, I'm not a GM, so.
Not yet.
I guess not.
If anything, they need to go back to those teal and purple uniforms. I think that's
that's the biggest thing. I mean, I think that is the biggest thing.
You got to think, when did all the fortunes change?
Right. And see, here's the thing. They started doing a sort of, it was like a once a month or once a week throwback. It was like maybe if they had a game on Thursday, they would wear the old uniforms. It was just like, throwing scraps to the diehard fans. I mean, it was kind of really. It's offensive, if anything, that it's just like a single, like maybe once or twice a month you'd get, the throwback uniforms. But I mean, really, the uniforms are the absolute, the biggest thing.
I think that is definitely the problem. Anything else on the cards? Anything you want to say? You got any hot takes?
No, I mean, really, just as a Cards fan, because that is the probably the main sport that I'm watching right now is or that I'm invested in is football.
That's the only one going on. That's fair.
I mean, yeah. It's the only one that I'm like actively following, that anyone is actively following, I guess. I just hope that Kyler stays. Like I like his style of play. He's, I think, established himself as an NFL quarterback, and has kind of defied the odds or whatever. And I just, it would be really cool to see Kyler stay for like 10 years and just see what happens.
Yeah, become the franchise quarterback. Man, that is exciting, because you guys seem to continually bring in players past their prime, especially at the quarterback position there for a number of years. So It's fun to see Arizona with a good young quarterback.
Absolutely. No, totally. I'm fully on the Kyler train. I mean, I will say, I was skeptical at first, as were, I think a lot of people, but he has proven himself and gained my trust.
All aboard. There's always more seats on the Kyler train.
Yeah, I have bought my ticket, and I'll sit for first class.
Hey, come to the dining car and we'll have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I'll meet up at the observation deck later too.
Sounds good, man. I want to thank you for coming on the pod here. Do you have
Absolutely,
anything?
Man.
Do you have anything to plug?
Not so much. Occasionally I'll stream. If anyone out there is into streaming, check out Pastrami Paladin on Twitch. But other than that, just happy to be on the pod, get my takes.
Hey, we'll have you on again, and we will watch Kyler's process and his progress. Kyler for MVP!
Let's do it. I'm here for it.
Thanks, dude. This episode is brought to you by CBD Brands Direct. CBD Brands Direct is an online retailer for a wide variety of CBD brands and products. They are your one-stop shop for everything CBD. From topicals to edibles to ingestibles, they've got you covered. Ignite makes broad-spectrum gummies that are precisely dosed and delicious. The gummies contain 20 milligrams of broad-spectrum CBD each and are vegan and gluten-free. The gummies come in a variety of flavors, including lemon, cherry, and orange, and can be ordered in packs of 2 or 10 depending on your needs. Ignite products are thoroughly tested and are made from hemp-derived CBD extract. All products from CBD Brands Direct ship to the continental United States. You must be 18 or older to order, and be sure to check your specific state's CBD regulations. Visit cbdbrandsdirect.com, that's cbdbrandsdirect.com to order, and use the offer code Begonia FM, all one word, at checkout to get 20% off your order. Make sure to use that code to let them know you came from us. Thanks to CBD Brands Direct for sponsoring this episode and all of Begonia FM. Okay, it is time for Nic's picks. Last week I went 1-2. I am down $1.30. The Packers almost pulled out that game against the Colts in overtime. I really thought that I had that one. And then Miami let me down, and I'm sure let a lot of you down on the third leg of my 3-team parlay with the Seahawks and Steelers already taking care of their games. That was disappointing. I thought I had that one. I don't think the Broncos are that good. And then the best of both worlds, the Chiefs won, but the Raiders covered. So that is a win-win for me. And that is the only reason I'm not way in the hole here. But again, we're doing 3 picks, $10 a pick. I'm focusing in on the NFL here while it's really the only thing going on. For my first pick, I'm doing a Thanksgiving 3-team parlay, a turducken, if you will. I'm going Lions to win versus the Texans, the football team to win versus the Cowboys, and the Ravens to pull the upset against the Steelers Thursday night. I'm doing a moneyline parlay, which pays plus 1107, so $10 to win $110.75. Pick number 2, Chargers at Bills. Bills are giving 5.5, but I think they will cover. The Chargers will basically do anything in their power to find a way to lose or a way to make Justin Herbert as inefficient as possible. I feel like he is succeeding despite the plays that are being called there in Los Angeles. But I think the Bills are going to cover that 5.5. That's a minus 110, so $10 to win $9.09. Pick number 3, Dolphins at Jets. The Finns let me down on last week's picks, but I think they are going to bounce back this week, even though they have that weird thing now going on at quarterback. But I think that this will happen because partially Flores is a good coach, but mostly because Adam Gase isn't. And I'll take any opportunity to bet against Adam Gase as long as he's still the head coach of the Jets. Miami is giving 7 points, but I think they're going to win easily, and I think they're going to cover. So the odds for that are plus 100, so $10 to win $10. Those are my 3 picks. Again, the Thanksgiving 3-team parlay, Lions, football team, Ravens, all to win. I got the Bills over the Chargers, and I got the Dolphins over the Jets. So hopefully all of those win and I can be just swimming in a big pile of ones. But that is it for this week. If you want to say hello, you can do that by sending an email to hello@begonia.fm or tweeting at me. My handle is @Nic Jehle. Thanks again to Van for joining me, and thanks to CBD Brands Direct for sponsoring this episode. I'll be back next week.